Hi, I'm Vanita, and this is my podcast, Laid Off to Lift Off. The goal is to provide real layoff stories from all walks of life, hear about the day it happened, where they are now, and inspiring advice to help you through your own journey. Whether you've been there, are in it now, or think it's coming, I want you to know that you're not alone. Hi, everyone. On today's podcast, I'm so happy to welcome Evan Tachoir, also known as the Jack of all people trades. He's a subject matter expert in all things HR and people, including recruiting, training, talent development, engagement, and retention. Evan is also the host of the Net Gain podcast, which stands for networking, encouraging, and training, focused on educating and connecting professionals in the snow, landscape, and facility services industries with a strong emphasis on building and retaining great teams. Thank you, Evan, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and great intro. You probably nailed that down better than I do on some of my own podcasts.
No problem. So thank you so much. The premise of any episode of mine is to tell your layoff story. So tell us about the day it happened.
So I was in the snow and ice landscape industry, and I got a very good opportunity to move to talent management and tech. Big increase, work from home, kind of all the dream stuff. And the day the layoff happened was about 10 months into my tenure. My wife and I were actually building a house at the time and was over budget, behind paying mortgage and rent. So it was March 7th. I'll never forget the date. I get one of those meetings. It's like, just meeting, and it's like, okay. And as soon as I got on, I knew it was I pretty much knew what was happening. My wife and I, we were actually in a small apartment at the time. So we're literally working back to back. So she's kind of hearing me, even though I had headphones, and she's hearing my reaction to it. Being notified that I'd be laid off, my position will be eliminated at the end of May. So as soon as I get off, she's like, "Did you just lose your job?" I had to tell her, like, yeah. That was like the day it happened. And I will say, before I talk about the kind of where I landed, which was really good and a lot of good to come out of it, heartwarming story about my dog. So they told me that day, "You can take the rest of the day. Like, if you need it." I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So I went over to the house. Some garbage fell out of the bin. I put that, anything I could do to distract myself. So I was willing to do any kind of labor just to not think about that I'm not about to have a job in 60 days. And I get home at night and sit down on the couch, and it finally just, all the thoughts hit me at once. Like, I'm going to let my wife down. We're going to be broke. We're not going to be able to move into this house. It's all going to sink. And I started crying, and I kid you not, I'm glad he's actually on my lap here. This little dude right here, this little dog Case, little Shorky Poo. As soon as I kid you not, I got like one tear down, and he jumped into my lap and just started licking my face dry, almost as if like, "Hey, it's going to be all right, man. You're going to land on your feet." That encouragement always sticks with me as far as once I got to job searching. So long story short, I was able to land at a good company in talent dev that's also Pittsburgh based, where I'm at. So I've been able to have some, because I didn't have that when I was in tech working internationally. So I have that home base now, and it's also given me bandwidth to start up my own podcast and consulting. So I think overall, it's definitely, God works all things together for good. So I think it's come to that for me, but it was a rough time then, but it's ended up in a good spot, thankfully.
It's funny how dogs can sense when something is wrong, and they just make everything better. But how long, you said it was March 7th. Was this a couple years ago, last year? When was it?
Oh yeah, that would have been good to put a year on. Yeah, so it was 2023 that it happened. So about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now.
Oh, so you're laid off, your dog was comforting you, which is great, and you're building a house. What were your next steps after that? Oftentimes we take a list of like all the things, all the worries, all the financial stuff. How do you get out of that struggle and flood of emotions, the constant like craziness? I feel like people get consumed by it all, and they don't know how to take things in small bits and pieces to move forward. So what was your plan, or what was your thinking to move forward?
Yeah, so I probably had one advantage to myself, is that, being that I'm in the HR people side, I've been a recruiter, so I know that side, which is a huge advantage when you are laid off, because in addition to knowing how to hire, you also kind of know how to job search. I've also had
Mhm.
some career ups and downs in my past where I've had to find jobs under crunches, which I was hoping I was done with, but I'm like,
Right.
okay, got to kick back into this. So I think the practical side is like you have to set, I'll go with the practical and the emotional. So, like the practical side, you have to set practical goals of knowing your budget and knowing, okay, I have going to lose a job as of this day. Here's the little mini severance that I have, if anything. And then it's going to be, I need to be getting paid by this point. So I
Yep.
kind of, kicked in and just started setting daily application goals. But I think
Mhm.
number one is any recruiting firm you can get a hold of, and anybody here on the podcast, Evan at jackofallpeopletrades.com. Like, I'm always open just to chat career advice on that kind of stuff. Just so if anybody else is hearing this going through it, like, let's talk. And so because I had that knowledge of like how much it takes in job searching, I think I was better equipped in that side to really
Yeah.
get down to the 5, 10 plus applications a day. Sometimes stretch goal was like 20. I can't remember the exact numbers. I had a daily application goal. I had a
Mhm.
daily goal where it's like reach out to someone in your network. Really plugged my network hard, throwing the open to work banner on LinkedIn, which I talked to my company about, and they said that yeah, we don't have a problem with you doing it because we're gonna let you go.
Yeah.
So I did do that, and yeah, that was kind of the practical. The emotional, I'd say I personally probably dealt with the emotional more later. Like I
Mhm.
kind of looked at it as, all right, you're almost like a fire. If your house is on fire, you got to get out, and if you can, get some of the other valuables out. So that's kind of how I looked at it. As like the job searching was the get out of the house in the fire, so to speak. But then obviously you have your memories, your key collectibles, things that you really cherish that are lost, and you're dealing with the emotion of that
Mhm.
loss. So I'd say for me, I deal with that emotion like later. It definitely one kicked in a passion in me of like the fact that I think mass layoffs for profit are unethical, and I think there needs to be change around that in the
Mhm.
country. And I've signed some petitions around that and different things, and tell my story when I can with it. Also, I've put that energy into why I like consulting in snow and landscape is because these are industries for the most part that are, mom and pops or smaller growing organizations that want people to stay and want people to be there. So let me help you learn these things from industry of like what makes best workplaces, and let's put that into play. But I think over time, I mean, I did talk to somebody, so I'm a definite advocate of therapy. I'm an advocate of taking care of your mental health. That was my wife actually encouraged me on that because, she had said, I wouldn't say it was getting hard to deal with, but she could sense I had a lot of negativity between the
Yeah.
house finance stuff and the layoff. It was good, I think, if nothing else, to hear from a therapist that you got hit with a lot at once, and it's okay that you're kind of messed up from that. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay that you're a little
Sure.
shell shocked. So I think over time, just dealing with things as they come up, and then ultimately, I think just, it's almost like grief. I'm sure I'm not the first person that may have said this on this show, but you're losing something significant in your
Yes.
life, and you have I can't think of the 5 stages offhand, but the denial. I mean, I feel like I moved past the denial pretty quick, which was good, but I think the anger to the acceptance was probably the tougher part because I
Mhm.
was, especially as somebody who was a high performer, I poured my blood and my tears into this, and y'all just let me go.
Yep.
That one was tough to go from that anger to just acceptance of, hey, you know what? Instead of having that anger there, take that energy and put that into your people that you work with now, both on your
Yeah.
full time side and your consulting sides.
You mentioned you started a consulting company. How did that come about?
I'll rewind the clock a little. Before that is I was somebody in my 20s and early 30s that I think just kind of, work paid the bills, but it wasn't really a passion. You know what I
Right.
mean? And when my wife and I started dating and realizing, okay, I'm going to have somebody to potentially take care of. I don't know if family's down the road or what. Something kicked into me of like, you got to get serious. So
Mhm.
that's when I started. I had, long story short, burnout in higher education. In my career there, had a lot of obstacles. I had a quick career sabbatical, came back and was ready to really relaunch. Started at the banking in Pittsburgh in a temp job in talent management, and I thought it was going to lead to a full-time. It didn't. They had offered me a payroll and benefits job. I settled for it because I was just tired of job searching.
Yeah.
I do not recommend that to anybody. 0 out of 10, do not recommend, because I was terrible at it. I was not engaged with it. I was on a performance improvement plan and quit to avoid being fired. But that
Mm.
is how I ended up in the snow industry, because the snow company had a recruiter position open because they were going to be doing more like self perform
Mhm.
operations in the area and needed to recruit a lot of part time staff and seasonal staff. So with that, I got hired there, and that's really where I rebuilt my career. So, kind of setting all that up to say that's where I found my passion and rebuilt my career and found out the impact of, engaging people. That if you hire the right people and onboard well and have a good training and engagement plan and give people a career future and find out what's driving them, that you could really make a thriving company and build a win-win workplace. Which,
Yeah.
on the wall behind me, my why is to help people find and work in their strengths and be engaged, and with that help companies goals be exceeded. That's that
Mhm.
win-win I build. So
Yeah.
when I got the opportunity to move on from there to tech, I always felt like I had some unfinished business in snow. I even felt like I had a little bit more of a vision than even my leadership there had for like people and what things could be.
Mm.
Because of that, that's where I think it was always in the back of my mind that it would be kind of cool to consult here and take what I've learned and help other companies. So that's really where Jack of all people trades came from, was that passion. And then the cool thing with the launch, the layoff happens in 2023. I'm at my new company for about a year. And I
Mhm.
happen to see online the Snow and Ice Management Association, which is one of the biggest, or the biggest trade organization in snow. They have an annual conference symposium, and it happened to be coming to Pittsburgh, where I'm at, in 2024. I saw a thing that was like looking for proposals for sessions. Oh, I'm going to submit something. And I'm like, yeah, they probably wouldn't take someone who's not from the industry. But I thought quickly, and I'm like, but they might take me if I'm a partner with someone from the industry. So I called one of my good friends. Hey, John, I'm pitching this. I might want to start consulting. Would you be willing to propose this session with me about recruiting seasonal employees? He's like, I actually wanted to speak here, but I didn't know what to talk about. So this is perfect. We pitched it, they accepted it. We ended up speaking there, and I ended up going for those few days and meeting some now current clients, some good relationship, both rebuilding and building. That's kind of where it started and where the passion is. But the passion, both through my full time job and through my consulting, both are all about the win win workplace. So I
Yeah.
really want to go ahead.
How did you come up with the name?
A jack of all people trades. I think I can't remember who I was talking to one day, but it was during my time in snow. I remember I somebody asked, "What do you do? It seems like you do a lot here." Well, I do recruiting, onboarding, training. I'm basically a jack of all people trades. I kind of
There you
said it
go.
off the tongue, and it sounded cool. So when you have those, stroke of genius moments, you just have to.
Yeah, for sure. I love your story. I think, going to a different job and finding your passion and realizing you are meant to do something more and going from one industry to a next, there are transferable skills and it's totally fine to hop into a new industry. It might seem like something new and a little scary to some. I know for me personally, I went from media to healthcare and it's
Mm.
totally different, but I'm still in HR and there's still transferable skills there. So that has been a learning experience within the past year in itself. And secondly, taking and grabbing those opportunities where you saw it and making it your own. You saw that there was this conference and you wanted to go to and you wanted to speak. Nobody's going to give you those opportunities. Sometimes you have to take the leap of faith and be resourceful in getting your friend to come speak with you, and look at where it led you. That's why I deemed 2025 last year as my yes year and putting myself in uncomfortable situations because you just never know where opportunity is.
Yeah, 100%. I like that, the yes year and saying yes to opportunities. Because, yeah, you have to, as you were saying that, it made me think, because there was part of me that was like, oh, if it was meant somebody should reach out. But it's like, no, sometimes you got to shoot your shot.
You really do. That is exactly how I get guests on this podcast. I spend my nights looking at my LinkedIn feed at people who talk about their layoff stories, and I shoot my shot. Sometimes people do not respond. Sometimes people say, no, not yet. Some people say yes, like you, Evan. So thank you. I shoot my shot, and that's how you get opportunities. So you have jack of all people trades. How did the podcast part come into it?
That was another, I think the lesson behind the podcast is always be willing to iterate and go there. And why I'll say that is, so tying back to the story of when the Simon Symposium was in Pittsburgh, one of the sessions was one of the sales leaders in the industry, Bill Butch, shout out to Bill. He did a session on doing lunch and learns as a way to get clients. He talked about if you bring property managers, who are the people that buy snow removal service, in and you feed them lunch, you teach them about what they should consider when buying snow service. You sow into their professional development, but B, also it's a way to get clients. I thought for me, I just kind of took that concept and flipped it on its head a little bit because, well, I'm a trainer and teacher by trade. So why not? That's a perfect way for me to get clients, is to offer that free education and then see if it can translate into us working together. So I did that for about a year. Didn't see a ton of traction with it, but I was kind of thinking, am I missing something here? When I went to another conference in April of 25, I was talking to somebody afterwards. I said, what do you think was the best part of this? He talked about the networking. I thought about, I'm like, all right, what if I made these instead of just me teaching? What if I put some networking on them? Like, how could I get people here? What if I have guests and we kind of guest teach? So NetGain actually started, and still partially is, I use part of it as a podcast recording. It started as a kind of live teaching / virtual meetup. So I would start, it would be me and a guest. I'd drop an encouragement, and then we talk about a topic for a half an hour. And then the second half hour, I'd open up the Zoom room and it would be virtual networking. That still operates like that for guests. So anybody in snow landscape related industry that wants to be on for a NetGain, I call those NetGain lives now because we have the live networking. But then I thought, with repurposing the content and with the fact that I listen to several podcasts, cover them on my social page, why am I not doing my own podcast? So since I already had the name, I transferred it over to the podcast. I'll do both recorded episodes like this, but then I'll also do live episodes. Where I feel like the live episodes can be an advantage is for companies like suppliers, for example, that sell equipment. I'm like, blast this out to your prospect list, have them come and get educated. If they want to think about buying from you or ask some questions, they can talk to you live right there. And then obviously, if they want to go real deep, you can book later, but it's a great chance to meet people. So I think in addition to the podcast and the teaching, but that's kind of how it came apart, is just that continual iteration from one idea, seeing maybe what wasn't working, what you can add. I'm still building on it to see what works.
From one podcaster to another who just recently started too, what is one thing that surprised you about the podcasting world?
I think how much the saturation was out there. And I think there's always hope that, like, because you're excited about something, that if you build it, they will come, type thing. Because I'm naturally a positive person. So it's like, all right, I'm starting a podcast, and everybody else is just kind of going about their lives. And it's like, my numbers are kind of a little small here. Is anybody out there? I think that was a little bit surprising, but I would encourage anyone starting, don't start thinking about the big boom. Start kind of learning consistency. It's good just to start, because even as I've started, originally I had all these different names for the series of it. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's already a big cognitive lift just to get people to recognize you have a podcast. Now you're expecting them to memorize 4 different types of titles and what it's for. It's like, let's simplify a little bit. I think just some of the, what it would take to get an audience. But I'll say one thing that I have to see long term. I've only done this recently because me and Copilot were talking about it, the AI, and I was kind of asking it, how can I build some traction in my industry? A lot of people are busy. The one thing it said, that they said Facebook groups, and they said, don't go in there with like sharing your clips, just go in there asking questions. I threw one in there about why don't we retain top people, and the amount of ideas and feedback people spilled to me.
Right. I might just have to steal that little tip, because I am not active on Facebook with marketing this podcast. I barely told my family, to be quite honest. But thank you for that tip. The next question, as we always end it, is what advice would you give people who are navigating a layoff, who might think it's coming or is in it now?
Number one, I would say, don't make it personal about you, even if it can feel that way, because obviously it's going to feel somewhat personal because you got laid off. Your finances, your healthcare, your family are the ones affected. I do empathize with that. Try to separate, if that involves therapy, if that involves taking up a hobby, if that involves spiritually, whatever, to decompress from that. Definitely do that and take care of yourself, because that's really important. And number two, when you jump on job searching, when it comes to applying, quantity, I think, is more important than quality at first. Almost look at it like a funnel. when you're applying, if it looks remotely close to you, throw it in there. I figure I can get more applications out at this point. Then at this point, when they call me, I can start being selective and say,
Mhm.
I think I might want this, or I want to ask about this. Definitely leverage recruiting firms in your area and don't meet with them once. Have that intro meeting, get them your resume, but look at their websites, see if there's new stuff posted. I always suggest reach out to all the recruiters and say, hey, didn't see anything new in my area. Do you have anything in your pipeline? But also keeps them on your radar as
Yeah.
being hungry and okay, this person's persistent. It's the whole squeaky wheel gets the grease type things. Be relentless on the job search, but then also take care of yourself at the same time.
Love it. So a couple things. Did you ever finish building your house?
Yes, we are in it right now. So when I got laid off, it was pretty close to finished. So we were on the back end of it. So we basically were able to move in. We've been in for about 2.5 years now, coming up on 3 actually.
That's great. And then last but not least, do you want to plug Jack of All People Trades, your consulting business, and tell us more about your podcast?
So Jack of All People Trades, the consulting, it exists to help snow, landscape, and facility services companies stop losing good people and hire, train, retain the best people. If you're looking at that, whether you're a company that's starting to grow and needing to put some systems in place, you're a veteran company that needs to audit what you're doing, you need to build some future leaders. Let's talk about that. And then also the Net Gain podcast, networking encouragement training, is focused on those same kind of topics. I put out episodes first and third Monday of the month, sometimes more. If you're someone in those industries or anything related that would want to be a guest, come talk to me about that. I try to structure the episodes in a way to almost be training, kind of informal chatting training. Definitely share that out with your team.
Perfect. With that, Evan, thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you for having me.